Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. I'm Ben, and today we've got another e-bike to test out. So assembly looks like it should be pretty straightforward. This bike certainly does not have a whole bunch of bells and whistles, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. It definitely makes the bike much lighter. We've got a very simple lightweight dual crown fork with absolutely no suspension to weigh us down. Same deal in the rear here, basically just a hardtail. So hopefully the knobby 20x4 inch fat tires will sort of cushion the blow for us a bit. And I think this big, long, thick seat should help out with that a bit too. I really like the grab handle back here. We also don't have any gears or derailleur to weigh us down on the back, so this will essentially be like pedaling a 48 volt 500 watt BMX bike. The MacFox branded battery has a little on-off switch here, as well as a little USB charger there, so that'll be kind of nice. We can plug our phone in if we need to. And it looks like up top here we've got a little readout that should tell us how charged it is. Looks like 1 bar down from full. It looks like this is labeled as 48 volt 10.4 amp hours. We've got mechanical disc brakes front and rear with 180 millimeter drilled rotors. Now generally I prefer hydraulic brakes, but I've got to say these feel really pretty good. Now I'm 5'10" with a 31 inch inseam height and I weigh about 160 pounds, and honestly I'm pretty surprised at how big this bike feels. I think this will feel a bit more like pedaling a BMX bike than it will a mountain bike, but that is sort of, I think, how this bike is styled, so I think that makes sense. Now, some bikes with this dual crown fork will really limit your range of motion, but it seems like this one turns, well, just about as far as you'd ever need a bike to, so that's definitely a good thing. We've got a full length quarter turn twist throttle on the right side here, and if we power this on, we've got our speed readout, battery bars on the right. If we hit that button, it cycles through trip. That must be battery voltage. Not sure what that is, maybe power output. I guess we'll see once we're on the road. Then we're back to odometer. If I hit the plus button, we get eco mode, mid mode, and high mode. Over on the left side here, we've got a headlight button, which I believe is gonna turn on the main light. And just with the bike on, we get that little bit of a halo effect. Wow, that is a bright headlight. That's not quite as good as my motorcycle headlights, but that is pretty impressive. I definitely like that halo. That is pretty sweet. All right, let's see what this thing will do with no resistance on it. So eco mode, almost 10 miles an hour. Mid, 17.5-ish, and high. Looks like it's limiting us to 24 miles an hour. Whoa! It looks like we get a 2 amp output charger. So we'll be sure and get that charged up to full power before we take it out. So I don't know how well you guys will be able to see the display here, but we'll put it on high and I'll use the throttle to get myself started here. We'll see what this thing will do. 0 to top speed. Ready, go. And there it was, just before we hit the gravel. I also really like how easy it is to bring the front end up. It like takes almost no effort at all. This thing does have a cadence sensor, so we'll test that. Pedaling, power. Not pedaling, pedaling, power. Woo! Now, as far as the gears go on here, I can keep up to about 20, but after that, I'm pretty much just ghost pedaling. And you can do that, but it's not really helping the bike at all. It's not really getting you any exercise. You guys probably can't hear me, so I'm gonna slow down. So if I switch this thing all the way down so it doesn't give me any mode on the bottom, it's just me pedaling. If I flip it up to eco mode, it's really a nice amount of help. It's basically just kind of regular cruising speed on a average acoustic bike, about 9 miles an hour. I guess maybe that's a little fast. Easy enough to keep up with my feet. Definitely feels good. If I bump it up to the mid mode, it's definitely an increase in power. It kind of gets to the point where I can't really comfortably keep up with the pedaling, but it's still possible. I mean, I wouldn't want to do this all day, I guess it's really not that bad. Without the fenders, I'm getting a little bit of a face wash here. I suppose you guys are too. Now, on both this surface and out on the road, this thing is completely comfortable to ride. I mean, I can tell, obviously, there's no real suspension there, just the fat tires, which I've got filled up to 12 or 13 PSI. As we get off-road here, I think we're gonna turn this down to eco mode, and we'll see how it does here. Honestly, not too bad. And I mean, I think if you had regular old bicycle tires on here, not fat tires, things may be a little bit rougher, but with these, it's just not as bad as I thought it would be, honestly. Not to say that some suspension wouldn't be a little bit comforting out here, but it's not the worst. In eco mode, I can definitely tell I'm adding way more power. Oh wait, I'm not on anything. What happened there? Must have fat fingered it. It is a little bit hard to hit the buttons on this display, especially with gloves on. So I must have hit the wrong button there, but this bike honestly doesn't pedal all that terribly when the motor's not on. Now, I wouldn't want to do huge distances without any electric power helping me out, but it's really not that bad. It's geared pretty well for it. It's about like riding a heavy BMX bike. That's about how I feel going over all these bumps too. I think it's certainly doable, but of course not something that I would necessarily buy this bike for. The seat definitely soaks up some of the impacts. It's definitely not the worst thing I've sat on, probably not the best either, but honestly not too bad. Feels like it's pretty human shaped. Let's try this way. I think we'll stick to the eco, just so I don't run myself into a tree here. So sitting down, going over these hidden rocks amongst the leaves. Woo! Yeah, definitely nicer to stand up. The bars don't feel super great for this. They feel maybe a little bit too close to me and a little bit too swept back, but obviously not exactly doing what this bike was designed to do here. But honestly, it hangs on just fine on these trails, really. Oh. Love that grab handle. All right. Where did you come from? Now, I suppose I should take the time to mention here that this is not a taillight. This is just a reflector. There's a little wire right there that says wire for light, but that must be on one of the higher tech models. Because I'm sure somebody has asked already. This camera that I'm constantly messing with up there is an Insta360. It definitely makes for some cool shots, but boy, they are a pain in the butt. I'm putting one finger on the levers here, more so to cut out the electric motor if I need to, especially when you're pedaling. You can accidentally get maybe a little bit more power than you wanted to sometimes. And it's good to be able to hit the brakes, not because they're going to slow you down necessarily, but because they've got a little wire attached to them that will kill the electric motor immediately, so you don't run yourself into a tree. Gotta say, I really, really, really like that full twist throttle on here. All right, let's bump this up just a tad. Woo. Yeah, I don't know, I guess standing position really isn't that bad. I do have to kind of crouch and ride a little bit farther back on the bike to make the bars comfortable, but it's not terrible. This really does feel like a BMX bike. Just a little bit longer frame, I think, would be really helpful. Oh, and it's honestly kind of nice not to have the suspension and the chain with the derailleur flopping around back there. So everything feels a lot tighter and smoother, even though we are obviously getting bounced around a little bit more. But honestly, unless you have really, really, really good suspension, sometimes it can almost be more of a hindrance for riding like this. Obviously, if you're just going for a pleasure cruise, then well, it's nicer to have the suspension. But as long as I'm not on the seat, I'm really surprised at how well this thing handles this. I feel like I'm doing better on this than I did on the full suspension one that I tested last. And that throttle sure is nice. I'm not even powered all the way up here. Let's go to high. Oh, and speaking of looking at things on here and changing things around, Seems like it takes a while for the miles per hour to calm down, but I'm looking at voltage now. This 000 readout doesn't seem to do anything at all. You guys probably can't see that at all, but we got on here 3.8 miles. Let's put some more on. Easy, sure, we'll do that. Woo! Whoa! Whoa! Okay, well, brakes are definitely not bedded in. I think I just broke my camera. Oops. This is why you should always have the lens covers on here. Look, I'm cleaning that off like I'm gonna be able to use it again. See my threads coming off as I'm putting this on. Okay, well, that was the end of the 360 camera for the day, apparently. See, told you, pain in the butt. Whoa. I suppose now is as good a time as any to mention that I did request the special little MacFox bag here, which is honestly pretty darn sizable, and I guess is gonna help me get that home, so that's a good thing. So what else happened there? I tried to get the brakes with just 2 fingers. They're not bedded in. It seems like maybe the cables have stretched a little bit, which is just something that's gonna happen on any bike with mechanical brakes. To fix that, basically you just need to back this out, which is pulling the sheathing for the cable back away from the cable that runs in here and is attached to this. So essentially that's just kind of stretching the cable a little bit, making it a little bit tighter. We'll do that over here too. Let's see if we can bed those in. All right, let's try this on high power without a 3-foot pole sticking out in front of us and see if we can get this thing to do. Definitely like that I'm able to easily whip it around. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting shook around a little bit. Woo! And it would be nice to have maybe a little bit more torque to climb those hills, but honestly, I'm pretty impressed with how this thing does out here. I mean, it's, again, not a mountain bike. It's more like riding a BMX bike out here, but I mean, if you're somebody that does that just needs a little bit of extra help, woo! This is not a bad little bike, especially for the price. And obviously that's kind of the standout feature of this thing. It's not necessarily gonna be your, it's definitely, whoa! Not gonna be your top of the line. I suppose I should move that. Your top of the line e-bike, but for the price, man, is this thing a fun little machine. And it sure looks cool too. Yeah, it does have a little bit of trouble climbing the big hills like that. But of course, if you give it a little bit of input with the pedals, that's definitely gonna help. And obviously you could step up to the version with the bigger battery and more power, but I don't think that would be nearly as much fun out here just because it would be so much heavier. And honestly, I'm not sure if I would want to be out on these trails with that suspension. It's just nice to have everything so much quieter. Yeah, for a well-groomed trail like this, man, it is not bad without suspension. A little jarring here and there. Woo! On the seat on these smooth parts, this is not bad. Woo! Now there is something about the steering geometry that at certain points, I don't know, almost feels a little bit awkward, and I can't quite put my finger on what it is. It must just have something to do with the rake or the tire size or the wheelbase. I'm not really sure, but something once in a while kind of makes me feel like I don't exactly know what the bike's gonna do. And I mean, on trails like this, that's a pretty fine line you're riding. And I guess you guys probably saw me almost put it in the rhubarb a couple times. And I think that, I mean, along with just my lack of skills, probably has something to do with that. It might even be just the distance between the bars and the pedals too, that I'm just kind of in an awkward position. I don't really know. But again, woo, whoa. I'm really pretty impressed with how much fun this thing is out here. I think I'll maybe be a little bit less impressed when I'm all sore tomorrow from being shook up so much. That throttle giving you just about, it seems like, all the power right away is so nice. I've had bikes out here that are kind of a slow ramp up when you hit the throttle. And this thing, I mean, it's not all the power immediately, but it's pretty darn close, and it sure feels good. I took a wrong turn. I don't know that I care, though. This is fun. Oh, and a little bumpy. I think, honestly, a lot of the reason that I like this bike is just because it is small and nimble. I think the short wheelbase and just the short overall height of it, it just, I don't know, it's just a fun bike to ride. I can't quite tell you exactly what it is, but it sure is fun. It's sort of counterintuitive. You'd think the small, most basic, no bells and whistles version would be the least fun, but honestly, I mean, I think this is more fun. Whoa! What are we doing for battery bars? Still full. Look at that. I suppose small motor, light bike doesn't draw a whole lot of amperage. Whoa! So the tires do not stick to mud all that well. There's mud and wet leaves. But other than that, they've actually held on to all of this stuff pretty good, which, if you guys have ever ridden on wet leaves, you know, that's not a great surface if you're looking for a lot of traction. Now we've got a big hill to test this thing out on, so we'll try it. A little bit of a rollout here. Just all throttle, see what happens. Nope, I can tell, not gonna happen. Might not even happen with me helping it. Oh! I don't know if I would have made it out of that hole without the electric motor, but certainly wasn't gonna do it all by itself. What is that up there? Big piles of wood? Oh my. Oh, I waited till it was dry out. Not quite dry enough, apparently. So put a few more miles on here now, 7.3. Looks like we dropped down 1 bar, and it looks like we are at 48.6 volts. So now that I've thoroughly worn myself out and bedded the brakes in a bit, I'm gonna head back. We'll hit the pavement and do a brake test and then wrap this thing up. But I've gotta say that I don't know. Sometimes I'll feel like the seat's uncomfortable, and then I sit on it a little bit different way, and then it's comfortable again. I don't know, I can't tell. It really does feel pretty decent. There could be a little bit more squish there, but honestly, it's, I would say, sufficient. Woo! For what most people are gonna do with it anyways. As far as the rest of the bike goes, it really feels pretty comfortable for me to sit on. Again, 5'10", 160 pounds, 31-inch inseam. Where the bars are at when I'm sitting and where the seat's at and the pedals and everything, honestly, I mean, it feels really, really pretty good. I mean, just like a BMX bike would. Now, if you're a little bit taller than I am, this bike might feel a little small to pedal, but I think you could probably still get away with riding it. Maybe not quite in the same manner that I'm doing today, but I think you could still make it work. If you're a little bit shorter, I think you might have a little bit of a hard time getting your feet down. Of course, there's no place to drop down to get any lower. So, oh, now we're getting a little bit of voltage sag, 2 bars down, and it's climbing up the hill without any help from me. Did I mention how much I like the full twist throttle? Woo. Now, standing up on this thing honestly isn't too bad. Like I said earlier, it'd be better if my feet were a little bit farther back from the bars. Makes it feel a little bit awkward, but other than that, I mean, the bars definitely don't feel too low. The good rise on the BMX style handlebars is definitely helpful. Pedaling, I kind of have to keep my legs out to the side a bit partially because of the bag, but also just because the seat and everything is kind of wide. So that sort of gets in the way a little bit, but not too bad. Definitely light enough to jump. I don't know that we're gonna be able to find a dry patch of pavement here, but we'll see what we can do. So all the way up to 20-ish. Not terrible. Actually stops it pretty good. So final thoughts on the MacFox X1. I've got to say, this is one of the most fun bikes that I've ridden, and I really kind of didn't know if that was going to be the case with it being such a basic model, but honestly, like I said, I mean, it has the bare essentials. It's got everything you need. I think hydraulic brakes would be nice just because you can get them a lot easier with just 2 fingers. You have more than enough stopping power, where with the mechanical brakes, you kind of need at least 3, if not 4 fingers on there to get it to stop when you're really cooking. But other than that, man, this thing really worked pretty darn well, and I put this thing through the ringer. So if you guys are looking for a bike with these specs, I would say this is definitely a great option. If you guys are going to pick one up, take a look down in the description. I'll have any sort of discount that I can offer you, along with possibly an affiliate link that will help support my reviews like this. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care, stay safe, stay swanky, get out, enjoy this beautiful world any chance you get. And if you can't do that right now, here's some more videos to check out in the meantime. Oh.